Let's talk some more about this case. I want to bring in our analyst guest, law enforcement expert, Mike Gould, retired police lieutenant. He's also an expert in all things canine matters and the CEO of Houndstown USA. Lieutenant, good to see you. It's been too long. We've missed you on the show. I know it's summertime and you're busy, so thanks for making the time this morning. Gosh, I know this case breaks your heart like it does mine and all of our wonderful courties who want justice so badly for Madeline Soto. Could we talk a little bit about the dynamic in the home and some concerns? I think we can learn a lot from you in terms of safety and red flags and things you've seen throughout the course of your career. We have this mother who seems to be baffled at her daughter's disappearance, and yet we do know that she knew that her daughter was sleeping in the same bed as her boyfriend on a regular basis. I had just done so right after the child's birthday party so she could get some sleep. The child's in that developmental stage in life, you know, the stage where children go through puberty and whatnot. Could you speak to some of the red flags that you may see going on here that have indicated perhaps there was a problem long before the child vanished?
Yes. Good morning, Julie. Thanks for having me. It has been a while. You and I have talked about when victims of abuse or crime are children or animals, they're helpless. They don't have the ability to fight or flee, right? So this young girl, she's been indoctrinated into sexual activity at a very young age, and it was obviously condoned by the mother. You don't allow a child to sleep with an adult man. So she's been indoctrinated. So this was her normal. So we can look at it and then people are going to say, well, she liked it, or whatever ridiculous concepts people might apply to this. But the mother is complicit. This guy is a, I have any kind of empathy, sympathy for this guy. He's a dirtbag. The mother's a lowlife by condoning this. Excuse my emotional reaction to this. But when a victim is a child, if she was 16, she probably would have run away, and we would have saw missing persons or lost child. So she's been indoctrinated. This was her normal. He, whatever they're going to try to figure out, the only thing that he can hope for in this case is some form of mercy when he's sentenced, because a jury is not going to tolerate the murder of a young child.
You're so right, Lieutenant. You're so right. And I love the word you use, indoctrinated. That's exactly it. That this child, that was the normal she learned, sadly, based on all the evidence we understand police have here. And we understand they've got a mountain of it. And we were chatting the other day on the program about how we call these types of crimes, you know this, you've heard this term, Lieutenant, strict liability crimes. When you have child porn on your computer, you're done. It's not a question of, it's your computer, you are charged. So this guy, he's got all this child porn on his cell phone, even with the factory reset. Law enforcement is able to still extract things. They got it all. So I'm wondering, you mentioned the jury, and I can't imagine what they're going to do, because they're going to look through these 1,500 images of these strict liability type crimes. Lieutenant, how do you think the jury's going to receive this?
Well, as I said, I don't think they have to look at 1,500 photos. If they look at 2 or 3 that were legally obtained, that is enough, I think, for the average person that comes to the table with an open mind and understands this child was sleeping with this man since she was maybe 9 or 10 years old. So I don't see it. I don't know, and I understand people are entitled to a fair trial and a vigorous defense, and he's going to have that. But the circumstantial evidence are overwhelming. So this is, in my opinion, again, I like to give my opinion, this is going nowhere except there's going to be a battle of whether he's going to live or die at the hands of the Florida state death penalty. That's where this is all going to boil down to. It's going to take us a while to get there. And there will be all kinds of, he wasn't hugged by his mother enough, or all kinds of defenses, which I understand. But in my view, a child, and as I said, they're captive hostage. She was essentially a hostage in this house. And the mother is complicit in my mind. So we can call it the Stockholm Syndrome, call it whatever you want. She's a victim, it's inexcusable, and there is evidence going to be proved beyond a reasonable doubt. And it's just going to be a question of what mercy is going to be given him, if any, regarding the death penalty.
Lieutenant Mike Gould, love your analysis. We want to talk more with you about mom, because there's a lot of our courties out there, and I'm one of them, who thinks mom needs to be charged here. We'll examine this video. We got a police interview with mom. We'll look at it together closely on the other side of the break. Stay right there, folks at home, or go get some coffee if you want. We'll be right back.
At any time during the course of your relationship, if he expressed that he's ever had sex with a child?
No. Not a child, but when he told me when he was in high school, he graduated high school like later, like older than 18.
Okay.
He dated somebody younger than 18. I think she was 15.
Welcome back to CourtTV Live. I'm Julie Grant. We're grateful for your company this Friday morning. Next week's going to be a huge week. We have the start of the sex abuse trial against defendant Stephan Stearns. This guy's pleaded not guilty to child abuse charges involving his girlfriend's daughter, Madeline Soto. The nation learned about that little girl's disappearance when she vanished from the home where she was living with her mother, Jennifer, and her mother's boyfriend, defendant Stephan Stearns. Let's take a listen back to a police interview with Jennifer Soto.
My name's Kevin. I work for the Orange County Sheriff's Office. I'm with Matt, Detective Smallwood from the city. The goal, obviously, Kissimmee Police Department's doing most of this investigation. We're at the Orange County Sheriff's Office. Our people, we have resources out there, obviously doing active. So it's kind of a joint effort. So Detective Smallwood is kind of ready to read through the timeline of everything else. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, we're gonna go from there. All right.
You want me to go through the whole timeline?
Yeah, we'll start with Sunday. Take you through Sunday.
Okay. Sunday. You're gonna have tissue.
Yes, ma'am. Actually, grab some. Actual tissues?
No, that'll work.
I can give you this whole roll.
So Sunday, birthday party. She spent the whole day at my mom's house. They celebrated with the whole family. I was at work. I just started at a job last week or the week before.
Okay. Where's that at?
Walt Disney World at Coronado Springs, front desk concierge.
Okay.
I was finishing up my last day of, no, it wasn't even my last day of training. I was still in the middle of training. Sunday in the middle of training, I couldn't miss to go to her birthday party. So I went to work. I was with my family all day. She had the best day. She was so happy when I got home and I saw her. At my house around 8:30 that night. I wasn't home. She got dropped off alone. About 10 to 15 minutes later, Stephan showed up.
At your house in Kissimmee?
At my house in Kissimmee, he called me. Or he texted me, I'm not sure. But he let me know he was there and that she was getting ready for bed. She was doing her routine. So she took her nighttime meds and she got in the shower to get ready for bed.
What meds? What does she take?
She takes hydroxyzine.
Okay. What is it for?
It's for anxiety and for sleep.
Okay.
Could she take that by herself, or would he have given that to her?
I think she took it by herself. She got home and she had already taken it.
How do you know that?
That's what he told me.
That's what he told you. Okay.
He was there when you got home? You got home, they were already at the apartment? Okay.
I don't like her taking her meds without somebody visually seeing, watching her, because I don't want her to accidentally grab the wrong pill. She's comfortable enough to grab the pill, but I'm like, no, I need to watch you take them.
Has there ever been an issue with that in the past where she took too many or took the wrong thing? Or just like a thought in your mind?
No, just a thought in my mind, just me being hypervigilant. I want to physically watch her take her meds and watch her grab 2, take them. I don't ever want there to be an accident of she took too many, or she took, my biggest fear is that she would take Adderall by accident, her daytime meds.
Got it.
I got home around 10:30. I started getting ready for bed myself. I started eating and taking my meds because I have to take meds. When I went to take my meds, I realized, oh my God, I forgot to take my Saturday night's meds, which is why I felt so weird and so abnormal and not myself Sunday while I was at work. Everyone at work noticed I was acting different and not being myself. Like, I couldn't smile in front of the guests. I felt this wave of depression that I haven't felt in years. It was my bipolar symptoms coming up again that I've been medicating myself for all this time. I realized I forgot to take my meds, and I said, you guys, I need a good night's sleep. I need to take my meds. I sent them to sleep upstairs in the guest bedroom so that I could get a good night's sleep. I suggested that we all sleep together in the same bed together, but not the easiest person to sleep with. She rolls around, she punches, she kicks. We have a king size bed, and she typically sleeps on one side, and she'll end up on my side when we wake up.
Okay.
So I asked her, I'm like, no, please, I need a good night's sleep. If you guys can go upstairs and let me sleep. I had asked Stephan to take her to school in the morning.
We'll go to Sunday. So Sunday you took your meds. What meds, if you don't mind me asking, what meds do you take? And like, how does it put you to sleep deep? Does it help you fall asleep, or does it help regulate you? What kind of happens when you take the meds?
So they do all of the above. They make me sleepy. They help me stay asleep. And they help me function, so I'm stable.
All right, let's talk a little bit more about Jennifer Soto. Let's bring in our law enforcement analyst guest this hour, retired Lieutenant Mike Gould. All right, Mike, so looking at Jennifer Soto, there's a lot of people who think that she should be charged and have kind of been waiting for the other shoe to drop. I'm one of them. I'm kind of surprised law enforcement has not charged her. Maybe they will, who knows? Maybe they're waiting to see what happens with the disposition of this case. But that being said, she's cloaked in the presumption of innocence, and to be very clear, no charges have ever been filed. We want to ask you, Lieutenant, what you would have done differently, if anything, if you were the one interviewing Mom, and the approach that you would have taken in that interrogation room with her to get information and to get to the heart of this matter and what was going on with her child in that house.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Julie, and I didn't watch the entire interview, but we know that a good cop and a good lawyer don't ask questions they don't already know the answer to. So it's almost like a human lie detector test, so we can watch body language. If you remember the body cam video of Stephan in that office, his arms were always crossed. Yes, sometimes people cross their arms, and that's a natural reaction, but his arms never dropped. That popped out at me like a red flag. It's not anything, but it's unusual that his arms never dropped. So, as I said, I would know a lot. There's digital evidence that they knew of, and where were you last night? Well, if he lies about where, or she lies about where she was, or if there's any misstatements, it starts to draw your attention to it. And you know, body language is very important when you're interviewing somebody, understanding their innocence or guilt. They're still expressing some cues or things that you would find very unusual. Talking on the phone right there. You know, the police are there. And so I would just, as I said, I know the answers to the questions I ask always to see what their response to those questions are.
Mm-hmm. Smart stuff, Lieutenant, you're sharing there with us. Thank you for that. When I'm looking at Mom, I'm thinking about how police may need her to a degree, right? You know, if they like the boyfriend for these crimes, if that is their guy, and they think that, okay, maybe mom is the one who can provide information, does that factor into the approach? Is it a softer approach? Is it a friendly approach? Kind of what goes into when you want somebody to cooperate with you?
Yeah, 100%. You want to be friends with them. You want to put yourself in their shoes. How horrible this is. This how, and be sympathetic. And then you'll start to see them start to breathe differently, relax. Their sitting posture will change because now they have a friend. So yeah, I've had to interview people that have done horrible crimes to children, and I had to almost pretend I understood. And it was, blood boiling, but I had to be that person. I could easily come in and start bombarding them and trying to, tell them how bad of a human being they are, but I didn't. I had to contain myself and kind of say, yeah, I kind of understand. You were probably abused when you were a kid, blah, 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 blah. So you have to ingratiate yourself with the person you're interviewing. There's plenty of time to get to the facts.
It's fascinating hearing what you do, Lieutenant, and thank God for people like you who are able to do that, because it's stomach turning. It is, especially cases involving kids. It is stomach turning, and God bless people like you who handle those cases and help put away the bad guys who do these things to children. And it's like acting, like almost like you have to act a little bit and just play the role, and then later kind of somehow, rid yourself of everything. You just, I don't know. That's why you have the wonderful dogs to play with at home, I think, huh? You need a release to, when you see such sickening stuff. Lieutenant, I want to share with you this interview that was done with Stephan Stearns. We're going to analyze a clip of it together on the other side of the break, so sit tight for us, please. Go refill your coffee at home, friends. We're going to be back in just 4 minutes. And look at what Mike Gould just pointed out to us, how Stephan Stearns, he keeps those arms crossed. He's getting a drink of water, and look, he's going to cross them again as he's sitting there being interrogated by these detectives. We'll be right back. Welcome back to CourtTV Live. I'm Julie Grant. We're getting ready for Stephan Stearns' sex abuse trial next week. He's pleaded not guilty. The alleged victim is Madeline Soto, his girlfriend's daughter, 13 years old. She also was found dead very close to the home she was living at with her mother, Jennifer, and her mom's boyfriend, Stephan Stearns. Her homicide case will happen second. The case that prosecutors are moving forward on first is the sex abuse trial. Perhaps so that if they should get a conviction in this case, they could then use that conviction against the defendant as an aggravating factor in the capital case. That could perhaps be the reasoning. Now, let's go into the interview that police did with defendant Stephan Stearns. Here we go.
All right, so Jennifer says, up, so snuggle time with you to help her go to sleep. Is that right?
Just bedtime, yeah.
Bedtime, okay. Did you stay in the room the entire night?
Not the entire night. I'm usually up and down sometimes. So I might go grab a drink or something, or yeah, I'm up and down sometimes.
Gotcha. But you didn't at any point go. Okay. All right. So night goes on. Morning time comes around and the school. Walk me through that a little bit.
Excuse me. Morning routine. She usually starts waking up. We set about 3 alarms. First one goes off and we let her keep snoozing.
Do you remember what time her alarm goes off? Or what?
7:30ish, I'm not sure. Alarm goes off. We let her snooze about 3 times while we start getting ourselves ready. And after the 3rd snooze, it's time for her to get up for real and start getting ready. Typically, she will have showered the night before, so she needs to brush her hair, brush her teeth. Excuse me. Get her book bag together, eat some breakfast if she's going to eat there,
So walk me through, like, you leave, you take her to school in your car?
Yeah.
Okay. And what kind of car do you have?
It's a Lincoln. It's actually my parents' car because my car is down south. It needs maintenance, and we're scared to drive it too much. So I'm driving a Lincoln right now. Got out early. The plan was to get some McDonald's on the way. So we got out nice and early.
Do you remember what time you left, roughly?
Not 100%. Sorry.
Okay.
No, I'm sorry. My memory has not been super reliable.
No, that's fine.
But it was early. Maybe 7:30, 7:45, something like that. I'm not sure. I'm honestly not certain.
That's fine.
The plan
Was Jennifer awake when you guys left?
semi-awake. I was giving her updates as we were going along. Getting ready, she's getting dressed. We're leaving now. Goodbye. She was sleeping in, so I was just giving her little updates and poking my head in as we went. But we leave the house. We start making our way to the school. Most of the time, we make our way over towards her school area. I ask her if she's still in the mood for McDonald's. She says no. She doesn't want it anymore. Continued on. It was still pretty early though, I think. And we still had some time to kill. It wasn't really time to drop her off yet. I had apparently forgotten my clicker key fob for the gate. So I ended up actually turning around at some point and going back to the community to get the clicker. I had to use my parking sticker to get in for the guy to scan. I had some errands to run afterwards, and I wanted to have my phone. But we still had plenty of time as far as I knew. So we did that, grabbed the clicker, left again, and that's when we drove over to her school area, and I dropped her off where I dropped her off.
Okay. Do you remember where you dropped her off?
Yeah, it was the stretch of road, I forget the street name. It was the stretch of road that the school is on. Make a right onto it. It goes down a little ways. There's some communities over here, and then up further there's a church, and then there's the overpass and the school on the other side of the overpass right there. I dropped her off on that stretch where the communities are.
Was she by herself when you dropped her, or was her friends there?
Yeah, she was by herself. She said she was going to go find her friends and hang out, wait for them to show up.
Okay.
It was still early.
Where did you go after that? Like, did you see her walk towards the...
I saw her making her way towards the direction of the school, but she was like kind of shuffle steps. She was meandering her way there. She was rummaging through her backpack for something. I assumed she was looking for headphones, maybe. But as it turns out, she did leave her phone at home that day, so she might have actually been looking for her phone.
Gotcha, okay. What was she wearing when she left, or when you dropped her off?
Green hoodie, black shorts, black or blue, black shorts, white Crocs.
White Crocs, okay.
Just like Lieutenant Gould said, arms crossed the whole time. We're going to watch more of Stephan Stern's interview on the other side of the break. Welcome back to CourtTV Live. Let's listen to another portion of the interview with police and defendant Stephan Stern's.
What are you thinking about?
So I'm spacing out here. Long day, no sleep.
Who else has access to your car? Are you the only one that drives it?
Well, my parents have access.
But here in Kissimmee?
Here in Kissimmee, I'm pretty much the only one with access to it.
So safe to say you'd be the only male driving that Lincoln?
Presumably, yes.
All right, I want to get back a little bit to you saying she's not allowed to have boyfriends or anything like that.
She can have crushes. She likes That's fine.
All right, have you and her ever exchanged, like, do you guys exchange text messages? How do you guys communicate?
FaceTime. She'll FaceTime me at night when I'm not around before bedtime to say goodnight. And I'll talk. Sometimes we don't even talk about anything. We'll just sit there doing our own thing and just with each other's faces on the phone. Just spending time, you know.
What happened? So the deputies made a comment. So what happened to your phone?
I have no idea what happened to my phone. I was pushing off doing this update for a while and ended up trying to do it. I don't know what the hell, my head being in the state it was, I wasn't paying attention. I ended up somehow doing some sort of option that updated the OS, but it ended up like wiping my phone at the same time. Even just now, the phone that my dad gave me and set up for me, I literally just pulled it out of my pocket and the sucker was reinitializing again. So I don't know if it's just me and technology right now, or I'm just not paying attention, or...
Did that happen once to your phone, or how many times do you think you updated your phone?
I think I tried to update it twice, and I don't know what happened.
Okay, and from what I understand, that you gave the deputies consent to look through your phone. You did, okay. And you voluntarily gave it to them so they could bring it here to do the extraction and stuff like that. Okay. What do you think was on the phone?
Text messages. Emails. Phone stuff.
Pictures?
Oh, yeah.
What kind of pictures were on there?
Training card pictures, lightsaber pictures, Disney pictures.
Do you have a Google account?
Yeah.
Do you save pictures to your Google account?
Sometimes.
Or is it automatically? I know sometimes phones sync to a cloud and...
Yeah, I think it backs up to Google.
And then sometimes when you reset your phone and your phone updates and puts these apps back on your phone, sometimes they will put the images back on your phone.
I'm not sure.
Okay. Do you have any...
Oh, I assume so.
Do you have any pictures of you? And
Probably. I mean, we went to Disney, took selfies on the train. She got back from Puerto Rico and had her hair braided. We got pictures of that. All sorts of pictures. Family events. I'm not as much of a shutterbug. I'll take them every once in a while.
any other pictures that you think of?
Let's bring in our law enforcement analyst guest, Lieutenant Mike Gould, to talk about this case. All right, Lieutenant, I'm sure you got a lot of thoughts. Share with us your biggest takeaways before we have to let you go, please.
Yeah, certainly. So obviously this is in hindsight, and it's certainly not a criticism of law enforcement. There's not an exact playbook for this. But if you think, Julie, of a courtroom is the theatrical stage for the judge, the jury, the defense, and prosecuting attorneys. An interview room is law enforcement stage and should be choreographed. So the first thing I think of, if you look at these two officers, they're pushing him almost into a corner. They both have guns on. They have their badges. This is a secure area. So the first thing I would do, frankly, is lose one of you guys. The good cop, bad cop is as old as time, but it's very effective. So you got this two people, two law enforcement officers change the dynamic. I'd get rid of my weapon. I'd get rid of my badge. And I'd give this guy, I would wait until he relaxes. This is not about really getting a confession. It's about understanding him. So if one leaves, the other comes in and they give him a cigarette. You'd be shocked how a cigarette and a Coke relaxes people. Then the other guy comes in, and let's see how he reacts to the more aggressive interview rather than the more passive. I prefer the passive. I want to ingratiate myself, explain to him how stressful it is, and I understand, and he's been arrested before, and this is uncomfortable. So I would change the dynamic because it took too long for me. I like to get to the point a little quicker.
Yeah, I love what you're saying there. Fascinating stuff. Like, I never would have thought of that. Like you mentioned, the firearms, the proximity of how they're sitting, maybe too many people. Really excellent insight. As per usual, Lieutenant Mike Gould, thank you so much. We'll see you back here very soon. We're going to hit a